Claire had tried every diet imaginable, keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, but the weight clung to her like a curse. Desperate for results, she scrolled endlessly through fitness forums, hoping to stumble upon something revolutionary. One night, she found it, a post about a secret program that guaranteed weight loss in a matter of days. The user who posted it claimed it was banned, illegal even, because of how effective it was. The post was brief, with no specifics, just a phone number and a message for those who truly want change. Skeptical but intrigued, Claire sent a message. Within minutes, she received a reply, an address, and a time. The next morning, she arrived at an old, crumbling building on the outskirts of town. The windows were dark, and the whole place reeked of mold and decay. A gaunt woman greeted her at the door. Her hollow cheeks and sunken eyes made her appear frail, almost skeletal, but her voice was steady and cold. "Come in," the woman said, leading Claire into a dimly lit room. "We don't advertise because what we offer here is extreme, but you will see results." She gestured to a strange machine in the center of the room. It looked like a medical device, metal tubes, wires, and blinking lights, but it gave off an unsettling hum. "This machine will strip the excess weight from your body," the woman explained. "It doesn't require diet or exercise. You simply lie down, and it does the rest. The process is intense, but it's worth it." Claire hesitated. The machine looked like something from a nightmare, but the woman's body was undeniable proof. Her desperation won out. "How much does it cost?" Claire asked. "Your will," the woman replied cryptically. "But don't worry, once the weight is gone, you won't miss it." Against her better judgment, Claire agreed. She lay down on the cold metal slab, and the woman fastened a mask over her mouth. The moment the machine clicked on, Claire felt a sharp pull, as though something was being sucked out of her. Her skin tightened, her limbs tingled, and a deep, gnawing ache spread through her bones. The sensation intensified, turning into a searing pain. She tried to scream, but the mask muffled her cries. Hours passed, at least it felt like hours, before the machine finally powered down. Claire lay there, trembling, drenched in sweat. She felt lighter, weaker, as though her very soul had been drained. When the woman helped her sit up, Claire saw the numbers on the machine. She had lost 40 pounds in one session. "You'll feel weak at first," the woman said, "but give it time. You'll adjust." Claire staggered home, her body aching in ways she couldn't describe. She barely ate that night, her appetite completely gone. Over the next few days, the weight continued to fall off. Each morning, she'd step on the scale and see another few pounds gone, but with it, something else seemed to be slipping away too. Her reflection in the mirror grew gaunt, her eyes darkening as if shadows had taken root beneath them. Her skin, once full and warm, turned pale and thin, clinging tightly to her bones. Her friends stopped calling. People avoided her on the street, their faces twisting with horror when they saw her. But Claire didn't care. She had wanted this. She had finally lost the weight. One night, as she lay in bed, her stomach began to twist violently. She doubled over in agony, feeling as though her insides were being eaten away. In the bathroom, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and gasped. Her body was no longer just thin. It was grotesque. Her ribcage jutted out like sharp knives beneath her skin. Her collarbones looked like they could slice through flesh, and her cheeks were hollow, her eyes sunken so deep that they were almost lost in shadow. Terrified, Claire tried to eat anything to stop the wasting away, but every bite she swallowed seemed to rot inside her. Food made her sick, and water felt like poison. No matter what she tried, the weight continued to drop, faster now, as if something inside her was devouring her from within. In desperation, she returned to the crumbling building, but when she arrived, the door was locked, the windows were boarded up, and the place looked abandoned, as though no one had been there for years. Panicked, Claire pounded on the door until her knuckles bled, but there was no answer. She fell to the ground, weak, emaciated, barely able to hold herself up, her vision blurred, her body trembling uncontrollably. And then, from the shadows, the gaunt woman appeared, her eyes gleaming with a sickening satisfaction. "You wanted to lose weight," the woman said, her voice dripping with malice, "but you never asked what you'd lose along with it." Claire tried to stand, but her legs gave out beneath her. She was nothing more than skin and bones now, her flesh hanging from her skeleton like a corpse. The woman knelt beside her, her breath cold against Claire's ear. "You didn't just lose weight," she whispered. "You lost your essence, your vitality, your life." As darkness consumed her, Claire realized the horrifying truth. The machine hadn't just taken her fat, it had taken her will to live. Her body would continue to waste away until there was nothing left. She had lost everything. And in the end, the only thing left to shed was her soul. Kara had always struggled with her weight. She wasn't obese, but no matter what she did, counting calories, hitting the gym, drinking those awful detox teas, nothing ever seemed to stick. She lost a few pounds, then gained them right back. Her frustration boiled over when she saw her high school reunion invite. The thought of seeing everyone, especially those who had stayed in shape, filled her with dread. She couldn't bear to be the fat one all over again. Scrolling through her social media late one night, she came across an ad that seemed to know her every insecurity. Lose weight faster than you ever thought possible. Guaranteed results. The before and after photos were staggering. Women who looked just like her had transformed into lean, beautiful versions of themselves. The product was called the Hunger Solution. Intrigued, she clicked on the link, which led to a sleek website full of testimonials and glowing reviews. It promised an effortless, natural way to lose weight. No exercise, no dieting, no surgery. All it took was a single pill. Skeptical but desperate, Kara ordered a bottle. It arrived 2 days later in plain packaging, with no instructions beyond the label. Take one before bed. Expect results within 24 hours. Kara hesitated that night, staring at the pill. Could this really work? She swallowed it, praying it wasn't a scam. The next morning, she woke up feeling lighter. She rushed to the mirror and gasped. Her stomach was noticeably flatter, her thighs slimmer, her arms no longer flabby. She stepped on the scale. She had lost 10 pounds overnight. For the first time in years, Kara felt free. She spent the entire day basking in her transformation. Clothes that hadn't fit in years now slid on with ease. Her confidence soared. And the best part? She didn't feel hungry at all. She ate normally, without guilt, and the weight continued to melt off. But as the days went on, something strange began to happen. Her appetite vanished entirely. She didn't feel hungry at all. No matter what she ate, she felt no satisfaction, no fullness. Food became tasteless, a chore. She shrugged it off, chalking it up to the pill's magic. But the weight loss didn't stop. Every morning, she woke up a little thinner, a little more fragile. Her clothes hung off her body like rags, and her skin began to take on a sickly pallor. Her face looked gaunt, her cheekbones sharp. People at work noticed, whispering behind her back. Her friends commented on how much thinner she was, but their compliments were edged with concern. Still, Kara couldn't bring herself to stop. She was finally skinny, really skinny, and that was all that mattered. A week later, she woke up to find her body had changed again. But this time, it wasn't the liberating feeling she had before. Her limbs were frail, her bones jutting out painfully. Her face looked skeletal, her eyes sunken deep into her skull. Her skin had taken on a dull, grayish tint, and her hair had started to thin and fall out in clumps. Panicked, she tried to eat. She stuffed her mouth with everything she could find: pizza, bread, pasta, but no matter how much she swallowed, she felt nothing. No fullness, no weight gain, just an endless, hollow void in her stomach. By the second week, she could barely get out of bed. Her body had withered away to nothing more than bones, draped in loose skin. Her reflection in the mirror was horrifying. She looked like a walking corpse. Kara frantically called the company's customer service line, but the number was disconnected. The website had vanished. There was no trace of the Hunger Solution anywhere. It was as if it had never existed. Desperate, she went to the hospital, but the doctors were baffled. They couldn't find anything physically wrong with her. Her organs were functioning. Her blood work was normal, yet she was wasting away before their eyes. That night, Kara lay in bed, her body aching, her stomach churning with a hunger she couldn't describe. It wasn't just physical hunger anymore. It was something deeper, darker. It gnawed at her soul, devouring her from the inside out. As the clock ticked past midnight, she heard a soft, whispering voice in the darkness. "Feed us." Her breath caught in her throat. The voice was faint but unmistakable. "Feed us." It grew louder, more insistent. Kara tried to scream, but no sound came out. The room grew colder, the shadows in the corners of her room shifting, crawling toward her bed. "You took the hunger, now you must feed it." The shadows gathered around her, taking shape, twisted, emaciated figures with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. They surrounded her, their voices a chorus of agony. "You took it, now it's inside you. Feed us, or we'll feed on you." Terror seized Kara as the figures closed in. She realized, too late, what the pill had truly done. It hadn't just suppressed her appetite, it had opened a door. The hunger wasn't hers anymore, it belonged to them. And now, they were starving. As they descended on her, their cold hands gripping her frail body, Kara's mind shattered. Her screams echoed in the night as they began to devour her, their insatiable hunger consuming her flesh, her bones, and finally, her soul. The next morning, when the police arrived, they found nothing but a withered, empty husk on her bed. And in the shadows, the hunger waited, ready for its next victim. Emma had always been self-conscious about her weight. She wasn't overweight by any medical standard, but in a world of social media influencers with perfect bodies, she felt like an outsider. It didn't help that her friend group was obsessed with fitness, calorie counting, HIIT workouts, and endless juice cleanses. Emma tried to keep up, but always found herself a few steps behind. One night, after another grueling gym session where she was the slowest in the group, she came across an ad that caught her eye: achieve the perfect body, without exercise or diet. Effortless weight loss, guaranteed. It seemed like just another scam, but curiosity got the better of her. She clicked on the ad, which led to a sleek, minimalist website for a product called Shed. The site was vague, promising rapid weight loss with a revolutionary, cutting-edge process. There were no before and after photos, just a cryptic message: your body is hiding your true self, shed it. Desperate for a shortcut, Emma filled out the application form. She received an email almost immediately with an invitation to a private consultation the next day. The location was an upscale medical clinic in the heart of downtown. When Emma arrived, she was greeted by a woman with flawless skin and a physique so perfect, it felt surreal. She introduced herself as Dr. Nara. "You're ready to become your true self?" Dr. Nara asked with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Emma nodded. "I've tried everything. I just want to be better." "I understand," Dr. Nara said, leading Emma into a room with sleek white walls and a large, sterile-looking chair in the center. Shed is different from anything you've tried. It's not about burning fat or suppressing appetite. It's about releasing the burden of your body, peeling away what's unnecessary. "Peeling away?" Dr. Nara chuckled softly. "You'll see. The process is painless. The results are immediate." Emma was skeptical but too eager to stop now. She signed the consent form and lay down in the chair. Dr. Nara placed a strange, cold mask over her face and injected something into her arm. Emma's vision blurred, and soon, she drifted into unconsciousness. When she woke up, she felt different, lighter, freer. She blinked and sat up, surprised at how effortlessly she moved. There was no heaviness in her limbs, no sluggishness in her muscles. Dr. Nara stood beside her, holding up a full-length mirror. "See for yourself." Emma stared at her reflection in shock. Her body was slimmer, her skin taut, her curves perfectly proportioned. She looked like the women she had always envied, like someone from a magazine cover. It was everything she had ever wanted. "This is incredible," Emma whispered. How did you do this?" Dr. Nara's smile returned, wider this time. "The process is simple. Your body sheds its old layers. What you see now is the real you." Emma left the clinic feeling like she was walking on air. For the next few days, she reveled in her new body. Clothes fit better. People stared at her with admiration, and her friends noticed too, complimenting her, asking her for her secret. But by the end of the week, something strange happened. She noticed small cracks in her skin. At first, they were faint with tiny hairline fractures near her elbows and knees. She tried to ignore them, but as the days passed, the cracks deepened. Her skin began to peel, thin layers flaking off like dry paint. Terrified, Emma rushed back to the clinic, but when she arrived, the building was gone. The sleek glass entrance had been replaced with a grimy, abandoned storefront. It was as if the clinic had never existed. Desperate, she called the number she'd been given, but it was disconnected. The website was gone too. Panic set in as the peeling worsened. Her skin came off in large, papery sheets, revealing raw, red flesh beneath. No matter how much lotion she applied, no matter how much she scrubbed, it wouldn't stop. Within days, her once perfect body was falling apart. Patches of skin peeled away to reveal muscle, sinew, and bone. She felt no pain, only a horrifying numbness as her body continued to shed itself like an endless snake. Her once beautiful face began to crack, the skin around her eyes and mouth flaking off in gruesome strips. Emma locked herself in her apartment, terrified to be seen. She stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, watching as her face fell apart. Piece by piece, her lips crumbled, her cheeks collapsed, her eyelids peeled away, leaving her staring at her exposed, bloodshot eyes in horror. Her phone rang. The voice on the other end was Dr. Neris, soft and clinical. "You were warned, Dr. Nera said calmly. "You wanted to shed the unnecessary, and now you are becoming your true self." Emma tried to scream, but her voice was weak, her throat exposed as more skin peeled away. What is happening to me?" she gasped, tears mixing with blood as her fingers dug into her raw flesh, trying in vain to hold herself together. "The process is complete," Dr. Nera replied coldly. "You are shedding the excess, all the layers that held you back. Soon, there will be nothing left but what you truly are." Emma collapsed to the floor, sobbing as her body continued to disintegrate. Her reflection stared back at her, faceless, skinless, a walking corpse. As she crumbled to the ground, her mind raced with one final, terrible thought. There was nothing underneath, no true self, just emptiness. In the end, she hadn't shed the weight. She had shed herself.